Welcome to our immigration briefing show. Today, we kick things off with a big story about the U.S. deporting 8 men back to South Sudan after weeks of legal back and forth. These men, convicted of violent crimes, had been held in Djibouti while courts debated whether they could be sent home. Despite some legal hurdles, the Supreme Court gave the green light, and they finally arrived in South Sudan last Friday. It's a story that really highlights the ongoing debates over immigration enforcement and legal processes in the U.S. Next up, we have a fiery political showdown. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tore into President Trump's new bill, calling it one of the saddest days in American history. She criticized the bill for slashing Medicaid and food aid, giving huge tax cuts to the wealthy, and beefing up immigration enforcement, $170 billion worth. She warned that this could lead to more hunger, sickness, and social harm, especially for ordinary Americans. It's a clear clash of visions for the country's future, with deep divisions on what policies serve the people best. Finally, across the pond, tensions are escalating in Europe. Poland is planning to tighten border controls with Germany, citing concerns over rising migrant flows and recent accusations of illegal migrant transfers. This move reflects a broader European struggle with migration policies, as countries like France and Britain also seek ways to curb crossings and manage border security. It's a sign of how fractured the continent has become over migration, with national interests often taking center stage. Please continue to stay tuned for more detailed insights on these stories and more in our immigration briefing. The Toronto Star reports a striking development in the U.S. immigration saga, where 8 men, convicted of violent crimes and deported from America, finally arrived in South Sudan after a protracted legal battle. These men, hailing from Cuba, Laos, Mexico, Myanmar, Vietnam, and South Sudan, had been held in Djibouti at a military base, their deportation delayed by court rulings that challenged the Trump administration's actions. The Supreme Court ultimately approved their removal, despite concerns about South Sudan's ongoing civil conflict and danger, with officials claiming this move upheld the rule of law and public safety. The process highlighted the contentious legal and political debates surrounding immigration enforcement, with courts balancing the government's authority against individual rights, and the administration asserting that these deportations were necessary for national security. Meanwhile, Yahoo US captures a moment of fierce political opposition as Congress passed President Trump's sweeping, big, beautiful bill, which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez denounced as one of the darkest days in modern American history. The legislation, signed into law on Independence Day, slashes Medicaid and food assistance, while funneling massive tax cuts to the wealthy and bolstering the budgets of immigration enforcement agencies. Ocasio-Cortez's impassioned speech on Capitol Hill condemned the bill's devastating impact on vulnerable populations, warning that it would lead to widespread hunger, sickness, and inequality, effects she described as unprecedented and catastrophic. Her social media warnings underscored the bill's staggering $170 billion allocation for border enforcement, which she warned would make current crises look minor by comparison, igniting fierce debate over the priorities and morality of the legislation. The Sydney Morning Herald reports that Poland is tightening its border controls with Germany amidst escalating tensions over asylum seekers, illustrating the deepening fractures within Europe's long-standing open border policy. The situation has been exacerbated by incidents such as German officers allegedly sending an Afghan migrant to Poland and Poland's retaliatory measures, including the reintroduction of border checks. This dispute underscores the fragile state of the Schengen Agreement, which has historically facilitated free movement across 29 European countries, but now faces challenges as nations like Poland and Germany seek to curb illegal crossings amid domestic political pressures and rising far-right sentiments. Leaders like German Chancellor Friedrich Merz emphasize the need to protect the Schengen system from abuse by criminals, while Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk and President Karol Nawrocki advocate for stricter border security, turning what was once a seamless travel zone into a contested frontier reflecting Europe's broader struggle over migration policies. The South China Morning Post details Hong Kong's firm stance on border control, with over 12,000 visitors rejected in the first 5 months of 2025 to prevent illegal activities such as unauthorized work or forged documents. Director of Immigration Benson Kwok Junfeng highlights that these measures are part of a broader effort to safeguard local employment and maintain order, especially amid concerns from residents about illegal immigration following the 2019 protests. The city is also advancing technological upgrades like facial recognition and streamlined cross-border clearance at Huanggang Port to enhance efficiency and security. Despite the strict controls, Kwok reassures that lawful residents retain their freedom of movement, emphasizing that the department's focus remains on preventing illegal entries while supporting high-skilled immigration through schemes like the Top Talent Pass, which has successfully attracted renowned professionals and high-profile individuals to Hong Kong. BBC reports on the grim realities of modern slavery and human trafficking, illustrating how traffickers smuggle victims into the UK in concealed compartments within lorries. Surrey Police's recent discovery of victims living in cramped, hidden spaces, some surviving on bread and water, highlights the ongoing danger posed by organized gangs operating along transit routes from France. Cases like Nam, a Vietnamese man forced to work on a cannabis farm after being smuggled into the UK, underscore the brutal exploitation at play. The government is intensifying efforts to combat such trafficking, with increased border security and legislation aimed at punishing traffickers and dismantling criminal networks. Charities like Unseen continue to receive thousands of calls annually from potential victims, emphasizing that despite heightened enforcement, the threat of modern slavery remains persistent and deeply entrenched in the UK's border landscape. The New York Times reports on the recent developments at Honolulu's Federal Detention Center, where U.S. Representatives Ed Case and Jill Takuta expressed concern over the potential increase in ICE detainees housed at the facility. Case reveals the government's plans to assign detainees to separate units for men and women, raising questions about the center's capacity, staffing, and safety measures. Meanwhile, Takuta highlights troubling conditions at the detention center, especially in light of diplomatic complaints about the treatment of foreign nationals. Both lawmakers are demanding transparency regarding agreements between the Federal Bureau of Prisons and ICE, emphasizing the importance of safeguarding detainee rights and security. The story underscores ongoing scrutiny of detention practices and the need for oversight to prevent inhumane treatment, with local officials advocating for accountability and improved conditions amid fears of an increased detainee population. In Yahoo's coverage, the focus shifts to the alarming escalation of threats and rhetoric from former President Donald Trump, who has recently issued menacing warnings against prominent figures such as Elon Musk, Joe Biden's Homeland Security Secretary, and a Democratic mayoral candidate. Trump's inflammatory language, including accusations of illegal citizenship and suggestions of arrest, signals a dangerous trend of political retribution and intimidation. His provocative remarks, made during staged visits and interviews, threaten the core principles of free speech and democratic norms, with critics warning that such threats could undermine the rule of law. Campaigners argue that Trump's aggressive tactics serve to sow fear and suppress dissent, highlighting the broader threat to American freedoms when the nation's leader openly threatens legal action and retaliation against political opponents and influential figures alike. The article warns that these threats, if taken seriously, pose a grave danger to the fabric of U.S. democracy, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and adherence to constitutional protections. The Toronto Star offers a vivid and practical guide for camping enthusiasts in Ontario, emphasizing the importance of preparation and knowledge. It highlights Ontario's extensive natural offerings, from over 330 provincial parks to private campgrounds, urging newcomers to reserve their spots in advance. Seasoned campers like Debbie Kriz and Sakti Periaselapan share essential tips, such as starting with car camping, which offers comfort and convenience, and gradually progressing to glamping or backcountry adventures for the more experienced. The article underscores common pitfalls, like underestimating weather conditions or carrying excessive gear, and stresses the significance of testing equipment at home, such as inflatable sleeping mats, to avoid surprises in the wild. It also advocates for embracing innovations like mosquito nets and screen tents to enhance comfort and safety, and encourages outdoor time for mental health benefits, making outdoor exploration accessible and enjoyable for all. Meanwhile, The Independent reports on a provocative and thought-provoking music video by Bad Bunny, which employs a voice mimicking Donald Trump to deliver a powerful message of support for immigrants across the Americas. The video, set against the backdrop of a Puerto Rican quinceañera and the Statue of Liberty draped in a Puerto Rican flag, features scenes where a Trump-like voice acknowledges the vital contribution of immigrants from Mexico, the Dominican Republic, and other nations, asserting that the country's strength lies in its diversity. The clip follows Bad Bunny's vocal criticism of ICE raids in Puerto Rico and his outspoken stance against harsh immigration policies, including the recent opening of a detention facility dubbed Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. The imagery and messaging serve as a stark reminder of ongoing debates over immigration enforcement, human rights, and the power of celebrity activism in shaping public discourse on these critical issues. According to The Independent, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has found himself in hot water, having been arrested in Studio City, California, by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The legendary boxer, who recently fought Jake Paul, is now awaiting deportation back to Mexico amid serious allegations linking him to organized crime and the Sinaloa Cartel, a designated foreign terrorist organization. The arrest was carried out by a large contingent of federal agents while Chavez was riding a scooter in front of his residence. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, revealed that Chavez has an active arrest warrant in Mexico for trafficking firearms, ammunition, and explosives, and that he has a history of convictions in the U.S., including a DUI and multiple weapons charges. Despite applying for lawful permanent residency based on his marriage to a U.S. citizen connected to the cartel, Chavez's past convictions and fraudulent statements on his residency application have complicated his case. The timing of his arrest, just 2 days after his fight, raises questions about why he was not detained earlier, especially given the active warrant and his prominent public profile. The story underscores the ongoing challenge of enforcing immigration laws against high-profile individuals with alleged cartel ties, and the message from authorities is clear: no one is above the law, regardless of fame. Meanwhile, the Toronto Star reports that President Donald Trump has signed into law a sweeping tax and spending bill, a comprehensive package that consolidates nearly 900 pages of Republican priorities into legislation. The bill, which passed with narrow margins in Congress, includes a mix of tax cuts, increased defense spending, and measures aimed at tightening border security, including funding for a border wall and a large-scale deportation effort targeting approximately 1 million people annually. It also proposes significant cuts to social safety net programs like Medicaid and SNAP, with new work requirements and increased costs for beneficiaries, potentially leaving millions uninsured or ineligible for assistance. Additionally, the legislation makes deep reductions in clean energy tax credits, threatening renewable energy industries, and introduces various GOP-backed provisions such as the creation of Trump accounts and funding for a National Garden of American Heroes. The bill's fiscal impact is contentious, with estimates suggesting it could add nearly $3.3 trillion to the national deficit over the next decade, though some Republicans argue it would actually reduce deficits through creative accounting. The legislation exemplifies the complex trade-offs in American policymaking, balancing tax relief and defense priorities against social program cuts and fiscal responsibility, all under the shadow of partisan division. Australian Broadcasting Corporation reports a gripping tale of international legal battles and human resilience as the U.S. completes the deportation of 8 migrants, believed to be from Cuba, Laos, Mexico, Myanmar, Sudan, and Vietnam, to South Sudan after weeks of complex legal wrangling. These individuals, held in Djibouti, had fought vehemently against their forced return, claiming it would violate their constitutional rights and expose them to dangers in South Sudan, a country plagued by violence, political instability, and ongoing civil conflict. Their deportation, occurring on the U.S. Independence Day, marked a contentious victory for the U.S. government amid fierce courtroom debates and international scrutiny. The migrants' fate remains uncertain, with South Sudan's volatile security situation and the country's history of violence raising alarms. This episode underscores the ongoing debate over immigration policies, human rights, and the reach of U.S. law, illustrating how legal, political, and humanitarian issues collide at the border. Meanwhile, the ABC story about Robert Bogutsky's extraordinary journey into the Australian desert offers a profound reflection on survival, spirituality, and reconciliation. The narrative recounts how, in 1999, Bogutsky intentionally wandered into the perilous Great Sandy Desert, sparking one of Australia's most remarkable rescue missions. After 6 weeks of solitude, dehydration, and near-death experiences, he was miraculously found alive, an event that captivated the world and ignited debates about the motives behind such extreme acts. Now, over 2 decades later, Bogutsky returns to the desert, not as a lost man but as someone seeking closure and respect for the land's indigenous custodians. His reunion with Aboriginal trackers reveals a story of cultural acknowledgement, spiritual awakening, and the complex human drive to seek meaning through risk and solitude. The tale explores themes of reckoning with one's past, the sacredness of the land, and the profound connections forged through shared history, leaving viewers contemplating the thin line between madness and enlightenment. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6 brief via email.
Lights dim, voices loud, headlines flashing wild. World in a frame and now, stories told, it's time to vow. Eyes glued, truth pursued, understanding woven through. Heartbeats race breaking through, knowledge spreads the new view. Breaking the news, breaking the day, truth and insight our way. Every story, every play, live and clear we convey. The shadows lift, facts unfold, moments chasing, stories told. Heroes, villains, tales of old. In this hour, truth is gold. Depths reveal, voices bright, news in focus, black and white. Every angle sheds some light, morning, evening, through the night. Breaking the news, breaking the day, truth and insight our way. Every story, every play, live and clear we convey. Truth and insight our way. Truth and insight our way. Breaking the news, breaking the day, truth and insight our way. Every story, every play, living clear we convey. Every story, every play, and clear we convey. Truth and insight our way. Truth and insight our way. Depths revealed, voices bright, news in focus, black and white. Every angle sheds some light, morning, evening, through the night.